What's up, my fellow scruffy looking nerf herders, and welcome to the Carbonite Chat. Today, I'm going to be talking about humor in Star Wars and why The Last Jedi in particular really failed on this. And a lot of people are referring it to Marvel humor, and that fits. I think that's a kind of good explanation is that they're trying to do Marvel humor because they see Marvel working well. The irony is Star Wars worked much better than Marvel did prior to Marvel existing, and they're completely opposite things. And the main thing that I mean by they're completely opposite is that Marvel is based in our world, our galaxy. It's the concept is that these people all function and exist in our world. So using humor from where we're from is normal. And the other side of it is the characters that have been created have a back and forth. They're all so powerful that you create kind of this back and forth with like Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, and the Hulk. You have so many characters that they're kind of riffing back and forth, but you also, these are always kind of in downtimes. And if they're not in downtimes, usually they tend to be at the beginning of the movie, like in Age of Ultron, the first attack. They're fighting nobodies. This isn't the main villain. This isn't someone that we really have to worry about. It's kind of just showing that our characters are in the swing of things and things are ready to go. And in that they're kind of having a back and forth. Iron Man's making fun of Captain America because he didn't want to curse. But it's a fun. It's just right into it. Hey, we're the same guys you've always known before. But by the time it gets to the end, there's not this joking around. And so that's key to kind of understand that. A lot of people are comparing it with Marvel because you had like a your mom joke with Poe, and it's a difference from the original trilogy. And I'm going to mainly focus on the original trilogy and mainly focus on the first two movies. I think these set the stage for what Star Wars ultimately kind of is. And I think a lot of people would even say from Return of the Jedi, we started to kind of move away from the heart of what Star Wars is. Return of the Jedi is great, but there are some little things that started to turn it more towards a normal franchise. Trying to choose Ewoks over choosing Wookiees to be in the movie because they would sell, and some other things, and that's fine. I still love Return of the Jedi, and I think it has a lot of brilliant themes, and it's still an incredible Star Wars movie. It's a big drop off of the original two, so let's discuss the original two, because most people want the best Star Wars films that they can have. Although I've had quite a few people that told me to just shut up and stop trying to think about it or pick apart the movie. And I guess we should just hope that Star Wars becomes the next Transformer series, where there's just absolutely nothing to the story at all. And I can't disagree more with that. So I want to focus on two things. One, it'll be what type of humor is it? And then where's the humor placed inside of the movie? Now, with the most recent one, The Last Jedi, the humor is spread out from everyone. Kind of every character has a little, kind of quip or joke that they make at some point in the movie. And this is where the Marvel thing comes out, where everyone's kind of got that kind of characterization, is that they're always kind of the back and forth. It's this huge group of friends, and that makes sense because when you're with a group of friends, even if you're not the funniest person, you don't make jokes all the time. When you're with a group of friends and you're kind of having these back and forths, you throw a back and forth in. But that's not the case with this movie. You have Luke and Rey both making jokes. Neither one of those characters are funny. Neither one of those characters try to be funny. They're fairly serious characters. Luke makes no jokes in the original trilogy. He's not a funny character. And now the character that is supposed to be this gruff, tore down, broken man is now deciding to make jokes. That just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. If you've seen the movie Gran Torino, it's like putting Clint Eastwood and having Kevin Hart write his lines of dialogue. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit the characters. It doesn't fit the situation at all. But you have him trying to make some joke about Jakku really being from nowhere. And then later you have Rey go, oh yeah, I've already seen your day. You're not very busy. These are not lines that are being made by these characters. And there's a few other points in time. And then you have Poe, who makes the joke that Okay, you're saying that's his character. That was one of the things that I just hated about The Force Awakens was that original joke by Poe completely ruined the setup of what was going on. Whether or not you like Kylo later on, he was set up to be a scary dude. Like you met him, he strikes down one dude real quick and then turns around and stops the laser bolt. I mean, it's like, okay, we're not playing games right now. And then we are playing games because here comes Poe with a stupid joke. It just it bothers me. It ruins the villain from the very start. And that's for another video. But here comes Poe again, and he makes another joke, and yet again, it's at the expense of the villain, weakening the villain, which is again that's where the second part of all this comes in. But so Poe makes your mom joke and a prank call, which are both very well connected to our world, which does not fit in a galaxy far, far away. And then you have Finn making some jokes. And the difference with most all of the jokes outside of Poe, because I'll give you, okay, Poe's the, snappy kind of quip guy. Okay, we'll let that pass. You had Finn kind of playing a little bit of a C-3PO role, and I think for the most part it kind of worked in The Force Awakens. I know some people disagree, and that's the issue with comedy. Comedy is very subjective, but a lot of people feel that comedy doesn't fit in Star Wars, and so I'm trying to point out some objective concepts to express why a large majority wasn't really happy with it. And so, but Finn's character is kind of afraid. He's like a really kind of a mix between Han Solo and C-3PO. Before y'all freak out, the only thing I say about Han Solo is that he tries to pretend he knows a lot more than he knows, but in the back of his mind, he's actually a little worried. And we get that first scene in The Force Awakens where him and Poe meet, and I think that actually kind of works in a humor concept because he's saying, hey, I'm here to break you out, and he's like, are you with the Resistance? And I'm like, no, I'm not with the Resistance. I'm here to. It's the right thing to do. And Poe goes, you need a pilot. He goes, I need a pilot. Like that was just that fit. That seemed like something kind of. I mean, it's a little exaggerated, but something his character would do, as we know his character going forward, and that's what made the humor in the original trilogy work. I rewatched them and I was shocked by how little humor there actually is, like distinct attempts at humor. Rewatching it, you kind of find the back and forth with R2 and C-3PO funny, but really most of the lines and most of the situations that they're presenting this, even with C-3PO, it's not really meant to be humorous at all. We're like rewatching it, once you know everything that happens, and once you know how much of a little whiny baby C-3PO is the entire time, it becomes humorous. But overall, he's afraid, and he should be afraid. It's a good character to put into a movie where you're going to have super powerful people that can use the Force and do things. It's nice to have a character that we know someone, and that's the other part of these characterizations. When these happen, we can say, I know Bill's like that. That's how Bill always is, or whatever. When you have one character that's always nervous and constantly worried that something's going to go wrong, you know someone that's like that. That resonates with you. It's relatable. And so when you have and then you also have their two characters bickering back and forth. Now again, if you rewatch that and you try to think about it as how each moment is placed in the movie, a lot of these things aren't that humorous. You have the point where they get on Tatooine. The first kind of joke is C-3PO talking to R2 as R2's trying to get in the escape pod to fly away, and R2D2's beeping. You don't know what he says, and so you kind of get it from C-3PO, and he says, I'm not a mindless philosopher, you overweight ball of grease. Like, okay, kind of humorous. And then someone shoots off, and then C-3PO goes, oh my god, and gets into the escape pod, and they fly off. Okay, kind of humor, but in the moment of that humor, all of the excitement of what's happening has been kind of settled a bit. The attacks happen. Vader's in. Now he's just trying to find where everyone's at. So, and then they ship down onto Tatooine, and you have another bicker between the two. And again, that moment was setting up their characters so that we understand how their characters work. They don't get along great. Because if you see these two following along with each other, the initial reaction is, oh, they're friends. They get along very well. This is showing that they don't get along very well, which is setting up when you first get to Tatooine and they split. And really, the only other time that C-3PO is funny, I don't find him funny, but tries to be funny, where there's a moment of humor, is Later on, when he falls into the wires, he's like, "Oh no, I'm melting," and I'll get to why that works more than the Last Jedi stuff in the second part. The other person that's humorous in the movie is Han Solo. Now, this is his character. He's this cocky, not really worried, doesn't care about much, is willing to kind of try to talk his way out of everything. And that's one of the only humorous, really funny parts of the original movie, A New Hope, is when they're trying to get up there, and it's right in the middle of kind of Act 2, and they found the princess, which is their first objective that they were trying to do. So they accomplished their objective. They've killed all the people surrounding them. So as far as the story goes and the movie goes, the tension has broke. You've had the characters remove their helmets. They've decided on, oh, here's where the princess is, go unlock her. This is a moment that allows the audience to kind of relax. And in that, then we have the moment with Han Solo with the back and forth with the comm operator that says, hey, what happened up there? And he goes, oh, I'm sorry, we had a weapons malfunction, but everything's okay now. We're perfectly fine now. No need to send anyone up. How are you? And he and that's something that you could expect. You don't bat an eye. You don't say, that was out of character. I can't imagine Han saying that. That seems perfectly in character. It's like he's trying to talk himself out, and then he realizes, oh man, that didn't sound very good. This isn't good. And then the next one he goes, we're sending up people anyways. And then he tries to say that we have a reactor leak, and then he shoots the comm and says, terrible conversation anyways, or boring conversation anyways. And then he goes, Luke, we got company. That it fits. It's in the moment of when it happens. It fits perfectly, and it is increasing and pushing along the story. Now we know people are coming. Now we're setting, the joke actually sets up more tension to come. And that's one of the things that the movies actually do very well. In that moment, there's a little break. We have a little joke. It builds up a little bit more of the character of Han Solo, and then the joke and the humor actually jumps itself into more suspense and more drama to come. It increases the storyline. The other time that this happens is in Empire Strikes Back, where we have again the back and forth of R2 and C-3PO. Again, see, these are the characters that we know doing what these characters do, and they happen to be somewhat humorous. We can always know the friends that are always bickering, or the hotshot guy that always thinks he's the funniest guy and can always tout himself out of any situation, or if you're a guy that thinks he can pick up any girl at any bar or any situation, and it's just funny to watch him, especially when he starts to fail and he realizes, man, that was a dumb line to use on that girl. We all know this. It's relatable, and that's the point. These are all relatable moments. So when C-3PO and R2-D2 are kind of back and forth having, back and forth, and it's kind of humorous at the beginning of Empire Strikes Back, after we know that Luke has been attacked by the Wampa, and then it cuts to showing what everybody's doing. It's building suspense because we know Luke's hurt, and R2-D2 and C-3PO are going to find Leia and Han to find out where Luke's at. But in this time, they're doing this kind of back and forth, and you're like, hey guys, speed it up. Luke is out there. What's going to happen? And this rolls itself into slowly building more drama. But once you see Luke is actually captured and inside the cave with the Wampa, those jokes go away. And C-3PO is actually kind of quiet and trying to make R2 feel better and say, hey, R2, I'm sure he's going to be fine. He's going to be okay. And then the same with Leia after that point. So the jokes are made with the characters in a situation that's really relatable and actually kind of works perfectly with the story as it goes forward. Let's look at The Last Jedi with that. Finn, okay, I've given you the fact that maybe he's a little bit of a comic relief, but his opening moment is waddling around with water shooting out of his water suit. Now, can we relate to this? Is there anything relatable to that at all? Is it in his character? No. His character just got struck down by a lightsaber, and he's been in a coma. Now you can say, oh, well, he's been in a coma, so that's why he's acting weird. Well, first, not relatable. I mean, you may hit 1% of the audience that find that relatable. But two, it doesn't work because, okay, he's just out of his element, but then he immediately says, where's Rey? And he's like, perfectly fine. This doesn't fit. This doesn't work here. It's terribly timed, which will be part 2, but it doesn't work. I've already said how Luke and Rey both use jokes and humors when they're not humorous characters. And so why are they having these kind of back and forth moments? And then you have that none of these are relatable. When you're having a serious conversation, it seems odd to just throw in a random joke. It's the tone is off. When Luke and Rey are having a conversation and he's been hidden away for so long, and now this girl randomly shows up and pretends she does know all the stuff that's going on with the Resistance and Leia and all that stuff, and he's trying to find out, who is this girl? Who are you? If someone just shows up at your front door and says, we know everything that's going on with your family, you're gonna be like, who are you? What's going? And she's like, I'm nobody. It doesn't matter. And he's like, no one's nobody. Which this is again yet another example of Ryan writing towards the fans. As he says, I don't worry about the fans. I don't even think about the fans. And as I pointed out with the lines with Kylo and Rey, where Kylo keeps going, your parents are nobodies. They're nothing. And he goes, who are your parents? And she says, my parents are nobodies. Nobody says their parents are nobodies. Like, if he would have said, your parents aren't somebody special or something, like, this is writing directly at the audience. But he says he's not worried about the fans. No, that's all he worried about. He thought about the fans throughout this entire movie. It was such a terribly written script. But anyways, he says, who are you? Where are you from? These are all questions that the audience wants to know. And they pretend, there's no reason that the audience would want to know this. Bull. Like, give me a freaking break. And so then she says, I'm from Jakku. And he goes, oh, man, you are from nowhere. Does this sound like, one, Luke wouldn't do it. That doesn't fit his character. Unless you're a funny guy or like to throw jokes in everywhere, this doesn't work. This isn't going to be relatable for you either. If you're trying to wonder who the crap just showed up at your house for no reason, and for no reason for you because you don't care, you don't want to do anything, he's hidden away for that purpose, you're going to be like, what are you doing here? I don't care where you're from. I don't care anything about you. Why are you here? You need to leave. That makes sense. But it doesn't make sense for his character. And really the other humor that's throughout this is at the expense of characters. So you got Hux being mocked by Poe. You got Hux being slammed down and spun around by Snoke. You've got, I don't even remember all of them. And then the other one is the Porgs. Now everybody's like, the Porgs, they had to be there because there was puffins on Skellig Island and you needed the Porgs there. Well, that's great, but why were they there for the rest of the movie? That doesn't pass. I kind of bought into that for a second, and then rewatching, I was like, no, that doesn't pass, because they kept them throughout the movie and they used them for gags, and they have 0 story points. 0. You can say, but they had Ewoks. Yeah, the Ewoks had very important story points, and there was even emotional moments where you're seeing them dying. That's the only thing Rian Johnson's apologized for. Not ruining Star Wars, not making one of the most awful, unintelligible, worst written movies I have seen in a very long time. That's not specifically one of the worst. Like, you've got movies that get like 1 stars that you happen to see, but as far as a respected name director doing a movie for a respected franchise, or a movie that had any version of hype prior to it coming, I haven't seen something written this bad in that long. Maybe other than Wolverine's X-Men Origins Wolverine, which ironically was written by David Benioff, which is now writing scripts for a trilogy for Star Wars, because he did Game of Thrones. Oh wait, he didn't even come up with the stories or the characters or anything to do with them. But hey, let's pick them up, because people are going to think, it's a great job, and more people say, Kathleen's great. Look, she got the Game of Thrones guys. Look, they made $1 billion. I'm not getting into the business thing again right now. Anyways, the Porgs don't work, and they're largely going to be explaining the issues in the next part. But with the humor, can you think of humor in this movie, in The Last Jedi, that's a relatable moment? That's 2 characters that you can kind of say, oh yeah, I know some people that would be like that. Do you know some people that are swinging around a lightsaber or a stick or something like that and slice a rock in half and it almost falls down and hits some people? because that's humor in there. Where's that in the original trilogy? See, these are sight gags. There's never a sight gag in the original trilogy, or at least the first two. The only one you could kind of mention was that C-3PO, and again, I will get to that. Actually, let's go ahead and get to it now. The C-3PO one, it's after they escape from the Death Star, and they're trying to flee to get back to the Rebel base, and TIEs are attacking. And as they're attacking, you have the suspense being built up. You got the great score at that moment by John Williams, and they're all suspense. And then once they finally destroy all of the TIE fighters, you have Han take his headset off, kind of gasp. You have Luke go, yippee or whatever. And then you have Leia and Chewie hug. And then it cuts to C-3PO down in the wires going, I'm melting, help, or whatever. This, again, is the only sight gag type thing that you'll have where it's like it doesn't really push the story forward. It's just there to like, ha, ha, ha. But it's right after, it's the end of Act 2, heading into Act 3, and it's a moment after all of the suspense that has been built has been cut. It was cut the moment Han pulls off his headset and kind of breathes out, and then you have Luke, Leia, and Chewie all cheering and celebrating. The tension has been removed, and then you go to sight gag. In these, the tension's removed by the gag. So you have Luke and Rey having the conversation about who she is, where she's from. Joke. It's not really a sight gag, but a terribly unfitting joke. You have the moment where the Resistance is trying to flee, and we just had a character die. You slowed down the music. You slowed down the video. You brought up the music. It's supposed to be a very sentimental moment. It's supposed to mean something for the characters later on. Holdo makes it out to be a big deal that the bombers died. We have Rose sitting there crying, worrying about her sister and who we just saw die. And Poe ends up flying in, and it's still the suspense and the tension's up because they're trying to jump to light speed. And he flies in, and he pulls up on it, and X-Wing lifts up and then lands. And the second he lands, it's boom, here we are with Finn joke. There's no real release of the tension prior to Finn doing these stupid things. And then it cuts back to a more serious moment. And so it just doesn't quite work. And then you have Rey, who's working. First time we get to see her using the lightsaber. We want to see her being trained. So she's working. We see Luke standing over watching her. The music's rising up. She's doing all that. Boom, cuts it. And then you see the rock fall down and hit the caretakers. And then she's like, oh no, I'm embarrassed. Whoops. It doesn't work. It's stupid. Like, it's so dumb. And then the same thing happens at another point where it's the first time we're starting to see the Force Spawn. This is a key moment in the movie. This is kind of one of the key storylines we're following through the movie. And it's something that we don't fully understand. And we're trying to understand it. And he decides to do a gag where she shoots. And Luke comes out. And Luke's like, what happened? And then immediately there's a bunch of caretakers. And it's not just a caretaker like, oh no, why'd you do this or whatever, or trying to fix the thing. It shows like 10 of them. One of them's got like a broom and like sweeping the rock. And like, it's set up to be humor. And then they gag on it again as they're walking up for her to be trained finally. And she's like, I don't think they like me. And Luke's like, I wonder why. Is this good writing? Is this good writing? Like, this is what people are saying is a masterpiece? Are you kidding me? And then we get up there and Luke's coming to train her. This is again another serious moment. We're wanting to see the training. Luke told us that the Jedi are going to end. And he's going to explain to us why the Jedi need to end. So this is set up to be a serious situation. Why has a character we love so much, the ultimate Jedi in everyone's mind before this movie, now wanting it to end? And he's got a leaf. No reason for him to have it. And he tosses it away right after this little gag. And he says, reach out in the Force. And she reaches out. This does not fit for her character. This does not fit for what we know. She's already reached out into the Force. She's already felt the Force. She already had this conversation with Maz Kanata. This is how she ended up defeating Kylo. in The Force Awakens. She paused and reached out and felt the Force. But now she doesn't know how to. And he tickles her hand. This is the guy that doesn't want anyone around, and the only reason he's doing this is because he just wants her to know why the Jedi shit. This isn't a funny situation. This isn't his character. This doesn't fit. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, this is like Yoda. Okay, let's cover that. Yoda showed up and he acted humorous. Again, this is in a point where it fits for the story. Luke's trying to find the Jedi. Then this little weird creature shows up and he's searching for food, and he's fighting with R2-D2 over the food. And much like we are, Luke is sitting there, like, hey man, come on, this is frustrating. I'm just trying to find the Jedi. Please leave me alone. This isn't working. Kind of like we are. And then the second Yoda realizes he's there to find Yoda, everything changes. And he's never that humorous character again. Never. It's a subversion. It's a good subversion. Unlike Rian Johnson, who can't do subversion well at all and never makes it be a better payoff. Instead, the character that we're mocking, thinking this stupid little frog creature, actually ends up being one of the most powerful Jedis we've ever known. And he's humorous to set because he's in hiding. And the second he realizes, oh, it's here for the Jedi. Okay. Let me teach you. Let me show you the ways of the Force. And it's dead serious from that point on. So it doesn't work. This is the problem, is everyone is looking back and kind of trying to recreate The Empire Strikes Back or New Hope to fit their belief system. Someone tried to argue that, oh, it's got just as many plot holes. Give me a freaking break. Please put up a video that's got an hour and 10 minutes of plot holes. You can't do it. You can't. There's a reason they're considered classics. There's a reason that many directors nowadays look back to them and talk about that changed their whole life, that they wanted to make movies because of that. That's like sitting there saying like The Godfather and Godfather Part 2 and Casablanca, Citizen Kane, Raging Bull. These movies, they have so many plot holes. They have more plot holes than The Last Jedi. Give me a frickin' break. There's a reason they're considered classics. There's a reason it's been 40 years, and before this movie came out, no one was talking about the plot holes throughout Empire Strikes Back. They exist because just like this movie, the only way it can ever create anything for itself is try to destroy the past and try to make it like the past means nothing. Just like all the female characters are strong because they try to degrade all of the male characters. Rey looks more powerful because she ends up beating down Kylo. Rey looks more powerful because she ends up beating down Luke. Holdo looks powerful because she kind of overpowers Poe and talks down to him like a little child. That's how all these are. Rose looks like the main character because she talks down to Finn and has to explain to Finn everything, even though it makes no sense that she's explaining to Finn why all of her thoughts, why she has this. She just heard stories about what's happened. Finn's the one that's actually worked for the First Order. He's the one that's been in the army his entire life. He's the one that would know whether or not that these people are weapons dealers. But that doesn't make sense because logic is stupid. Just like everybody, oh, it's subjective. I've kind of gone off track. Back to the humor thing. Oh, man, this movie still pisses me off so bad. All right. So as I've shown, this isn't back and forth. This doesn't fit the character. It doesn't improve the story. It doesn't build the story. Then it's the location of where the jokes are at. And I've discussed that with a lot of the ones prior where it doesn't fit the tone. You have a serious conversation between Luke and Rey. And then boom, here comes the joke. Are any of these moments serious in the original trilogies where this humor comes in? I mentioned with Han, we had just destroyed all of the stormtroopers that are there, and they've accomplished their task. They're now freeing Leia. The tension has been pulled. And this is just a back and forth talk. This isn't a sight gag. Chewie doesn't trip over a stormtrooper and start falling around and firing a weapon off or something like that. He doesn't accidentally kick a stormtrooper and then the stormtrooper falls down and hits another stormtrooper like 3 decks below. And they say, hey, wait a minute, someone's up there. That's how Rian Johnson would have them be captured. But instead, it's done in a normal conversation dialogue. And then even in Empire Strikes Back, you have a few gags. After Luke has been after Luke has been freed, they're back at Hoth and they're trying to be able to get away. And the Empire hasn't even showed up yet, but they're kind of setting everything up. And Han's working on the Falcon. And he's trying to get Chewie to turn some things on. And then, things kind of pop and blow up. It's again, the Falcon's part of the character, and he's a piece of junk that's always causing issues. It fits like all of this. Even the freaking vehicles in the original trilogy have more character than the actual human characters in The Last Jedi. But again, it's the point where there's no tension. There's nothing going on. It's the build. We know the Empire's coming. And again, this is that brilliant where it's setting up suspense. Because everything just seems normal, but you know that something's up. It's like when you watch a horror movie. I think one of the best horror movies that I've seen in a really long time is Strangers. And the brilliance of Strangers is you have two characters that are discussing the issues and whether or not they want to break up, and they're in this house, and you just keep seeing a character in a mask kind of randomly pop up in the corner and then disappear. And they don't know it for like half the movie. And you're like, what? There's someone right behind you. They're right behind. Stop talking about your relationship and get going. That's brilliant suspense. That's how you do suspenseful scenes. You reveal something to the audience that the characters don't know. And that's what's so brilliantly done. And so you have these humor moments, but it adds to what's going on in the movie. This doesn't add to what's going on. Well, if you just see me now in a different position and the camera moved, I had a cut because I filmed like however much longer of this video, and I checked it and I had run out of memories. So it cut off the whole second half of the video. So after much yelling and throwing stuff around, I'm going to try to finish this video. I got most of it out. I lost my flow, so now I'm mad because it's not going to be as good as the first half because I'm frustrated, and so trying to discuss the topic, and I had kind of let everything out about the topic, and after letting it all out, now I've got to try to remember what I said. And I don't write scripts. I just talk. So I don't even remember what I said. So here we go. I just talked about the Stranger movie, and how the timing, and I kind of discussed on the first movie, the first half, a lot of situations where they just don't fit timing wise. They don't fit the tone. And you have like, I discussed with the Millennium Falcon and with other situations that they build suspense or they fit the story. They increase the tone, the tension of what's going on in the movie. Where's that in The Last Jedi? It's never in The Last Jedi. You have the Millennium Falcon flying, and it's trying to get away on Crate, and this is a dire situation. The resistance is down to nothing. They're trying to reach out to people. The First Order's pulling up, and they're going to be able to blow out the door. And then they're all dead. There's no hope. The only thing they're trying to do with the stupid little speeder things, other than try to make Rian Johnson look like a better director because visually it looks good, even though it had absolutely no sense in the story. It's completely rushed, and it doesn't work at all. But ignoring all that, let's pretend it's working. And the Millennium Falcon flies away. Hux tells everyone to chase it because plot. And the Falcon's flying, and then you have a porg fly into the window, and then right after it you have a porg scream and be hit off. What about that is improving the story or doing anything for the story? It's not. And that's why the porg thing of, oh, it's just puffins, they had to hide the puffins, doesn't work. It doesn't work. It just doesn't, because they're throughout the movie and they have no point, there's no meaning. But it doesn't improve anything with the story. Just like none of the points of the movie improves anything for the story. Finn's water thing. Where does it improving suspense? No. Is it killing the tone of where we're at in the point of the movie? Yes. Is it relatable? No. So each one of these, like humor and jokes, and if I repeat some stuff, I'm sorry. I don't remember what all I said, but humor is subjective, but there is some objective things that you can look at and see this is what people have done throughout time to be considered really funny. One of them is relatable humor. Humor that everyone gets. You have different people that use a different style of humor to turn relatable situations that we all know and make them humorous in a different way, a different light. It's very basic. each person does it in their own way. The other way is timing. Some people made some comments about some of the video that I did on why the Last Jedi is a masterpiece, and that they said just the way I presented some of the humor was just really well timed. With things where I'm not going to repeat them because it was. The thing is I was just spitfiring. I didn't have a script. I had a light outline for that one, but I was just and you're like, oh, the timing's great because it was a natural. It was very natural because I was just naturally doing it. I'm not trying to say I'm an actor or something. I was just being myself, kind of ironically sarcastic version of myself, which I'm very sarcastic anyways. But people were saying, oh, the timing of how you kind of paused here and then said it, stuff like we understand that. We get that. We've seen these things in other people. So timing and how it fits and works in a moment, we understand that. These are kind of objective things that for the majority of people you can say this is why it is or isn't funny. There's a reason there's certain humorous or comedy films that just bomb across the board. It's not completely subjective. There are some objective realities to why things work and don't work. And when you place it into a franchise that has an existing style of humor and then you change it, well, then yeah, there's an objective reason these don't work. And it's the characters. Does the humor fit along with the character that we're following? Does it fit in the moment, time, or tone of the scene that we're in? And is it relatable? Because Star Wars humor has almost always been relatable. You can maybe once or twice that it doesn't. And again, I'm really focusing on the original trilogy because this is what set up what Star Wars is. That's why I said in my video that if you're not a fan of A New Hope or Empire Strikes Back, you're not really a Star Wars fan. Because those are what make up Star Wars. That's like saying, I'm a Chicago sports fan, but I don't like the Bears or the Bulls. And, not really the White Sox either. Well, no, you're a Cubs fan. That's what you are. You're not a Chicago sports fan. You're not. Those are the things that make you a Chicago sports fan. So why are you trying to say, I don't call myself a Chicago Bulls fan because I only liked Jordan. I only liked the Jordan team. That was what I grew up on. I watched every single game they played on. But guess what? When Jordan retired, I didn't watch any more Bulls games. Am I a Bulls fan or was I a Jordan fan? That's what I mean when I say you're not a Star Wars fan if you don't like those. They don't have to be your favorite. I question it if they're not your favorite, but you can enjoy Star Wars and you can watch my videos. But I'm not really going to consider you a true Star Wars fan if you don't like the first two Star Wars. Off subject again. So because those are the original, those are the ones that I'm basing off what is objectively good humor in Star Wars. So character, I already listed them. So let's go through them we already said the Finn. Does it work? Then you have the lightsaber tossed by Luke Saber. Completely doesn't fit the character. Completely doesn't fit the tone of what's going on there. And I guess you could say it does something for the story. So maybe 1 out of 3, that's not good. You at least need to hit 2 out of 3 to be in the subjective reason. But then we go and we have another serious conversation with Luke and Rey. This is a serious conversation. It's in a dark cave. Tonally, it's a serious moment. You're having a conversation. Who are you? Why are you here? And you have you're from Jakku. That really is nowhere. And I think it's in the same scene where Rey goes, I've seen your day. You're not doing anything. Really? Really? It doesn't fit either one of those characters. It doesn't fit the tone of the moment. And it's not really relatable either. Maybe Rey's is. Maybe is relatable in that someone that's a younger person would make a little joke if they saw someone else doing pointless things. They might be like, you're not busy. But it doesn't fit her character. Poe says it, sure. Finn says it, yeah. She says it, no. And then you have the caretakers and the porgs that are just there for sight gags. They don't improve upon the story. Yes, I know there was a deleted scene, but guess what? That's not in the movie. So yeah, they didn't do anything from the movie. Neither one of those have anything to do with the movie. Their characters, they have no characterization other than to be the humorous little sight gag. They never keep on tone. They're always killing the tone, suspense, or tension of a scene. And then you have the moment with Rey and Luke. Again, Rey reaches her hand out. It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit the tone. It doesn't fit the situation. The situation is trying to discuss why the Jedi need to end. Something we all want to know very, very seriously. The whole situation surrounding it is more serious. It's the training of the Force. We've never seen the Force done in this type of way. Everyone wants to talk about Yoda, and Yoda was joking around, laughing, ha ha ha. But that was only at the very beginning when he was not pretending to be a Jedi. And it fits with the tone of what's going on. Again, I don't know if I've repeated this, so I'll be very quick because I think I did this earlier in the video. But at the second that he is realized that he's serious, or that Luke is looking for the Jedi, he's serious from that point on. And the whole training of the Force is he's never joking. It's serious. It's all serious. 100%. Yoda does not play games when it comes to this. So no, this doesn't fit. This doesn't fit tonally. It's a simple another sight gag because Luke has a little leaf, and the second he's done, he tosses it. Well, why'd you bring it up there? There's not a tree. You didn't pull that off the tree and then do that when you saw the opportunity. Plus, Rey's already reached out to the Force before, so it doesn't make sense. It fails on every front. Then you have like BB-8 shooting coins or stupid little whatever it is trying to stick coins in him and burping into his face. Like, is this relatable? like yeah, I've seen tons of drunk people put coins in a basketball and burp on it. Oh, that's so relatable. You got, the stupid stuff where you got Finn and Rose both even look at each other when BB-8 comes out of the ATST. It's just none of the humor at any point in the movie. Maybe 10%. Maybe. I was really trying to be nice to those of you who like the movie. Maybe 10% of it works that's relatable. I don't really think anything was in character. Maybe 10% was in character, and it just didn't fit the tone. If you get 1 out of 3, you still fail. If you can't hit, you at least need to hit 2 out of 3. Then you can say, oh, well, it's subjective. Okay, I'll give you that. But the problem is, the vast majority of the time, it only hits 1 out of the 3 issues. Anyways, I know the ending kind of died off there. I thought the ending I finished really strong on. And I was really happy with the video, and then I saw what happened, and I tried desperately not to punch a hole through the wall. And so I had to delete a bunch of stuff and then use the first half of this video and redo it. So I'm sorry if it died off on the end. I tried to make sure to wrap it up and give it a nice little clean touch. I had some people ask about this, and so I've been wanting to do this video, and I wanted to try to explain it. And the problem is, as I said, comedy humor is subjective, but there are some objective things that you can place around it. And so, I wanted to kind of put some different, steps or things behind that kind of should be objectively agreed upon by the vast majority of people. I can see why you would say that would be what makes up humor in Star Wars, if not humor as a whole. And then looking at those, you can look at the humor in The Last Jedi and be like, okay, wait a minute. Yeah, it didn't work. It didn't really work. So that was what I attempted to do. I am not a comedian. So, it's one of those things where it's like I'm just a simple YouTuber with not even 1,000 subscribers trying to break down all these different things. And I've, done Greek tragedy, and now I'm doing humor, and, I try to present them in as understandable, easily accessible way. And I look forward to hearing your thoughts down below. I hope it helped you. I hope it helped some people understand it, specifically those that have asked me for this video. And I know I went a little long. I ranted a bit because I got worked up. It probably would have been longer if I wouldn't have cut the data because or lost memory. because I'm pretty sure I ran longer, but I kind of was out of steam after that, after using up all of it. I guess that's the issue with not having a script, but that's what I chose to do. That's how I do it. So I got my one cut in there. I'm sure that was very disrupting to go from how I was before to then like right there. But anyways, as usual, thank you guys for watching. I look forward to hearing your thoughts. If I missed anything, if you think I'm an idiot and oh no, it was the funniest thing ever, I look forward to talking to you about that. If you think that I missed some humor, I know I didn't even get on to stuff like Luke drinking the sea cow milk or stuff like that. There's just so many things to go over. And I already got angry in the middle of the video. So, if I missed anything, if you think there's more to add to what could objectively make this not work or what made the original trilogy work better, please comment them down below. As always, I always try to comment back to everyone and talk with everyone and give everyone the time, as my comments have been incredibly respectful, and I thank all of you for that as always. And I know my last video got me, quite a few more subscribers. The Why the Last Jedi is Brilliant video. And so, to all you new subscribers that are watching this, just please keep it respectful. Or my channels always keep it respectful. Even if you disagree with me and you think The Last Jedi is brilliant, as long as you're respectful, don't get in a argument fight calling people names. Discuss it with reason. Always be reasonable. Always be respectful. Enough of that. I've run on long enough. So, as always, guys, thank you again for watching. And never forget, you nerf herders, I love you.